Welcome to the 5% to Greatness podcast. I'm Rick Neuenhoven, owner of New Vision, member of Entrepreneurs Organisation South Australia. The views of the hosts and the guests are of a personal nature and do not represent any organisation. Enjoy today's show. I'm very excited to have Anil Gupta with me today. Anil, how are you?
Fantastic. Thank you for having me on your show.
Awesome. So we call you a happiness coach, Anil. What is a happiness coach? Firstly,
It's it's a mindset coach. People need help with clarity. That's one of their biggest issues. Once you get clarity, it gives you focus. Focus gives you action. Action gives you results, and ultimately happiness, fulfillment, joy. But it's really a mindset coach.
Right. So how did it come about? That you became a happiness coach? Were you working on yourself and then it evolved from there, or did you just see that there was a gap in the market with people and their happiness, and you thought you could provide value?
Well, really, it happened by accident. I was a doctor of optometry in the UK, and then patients would come and talk to me about personal issues, and I would say, why don't you try this, or why don't you try that? And they would come back and say, oh, that worked. And it felt good, but I never really thought that it was coaching, because I never really knew what coaching was until I started working with Tony Robbins, and I realized, oh, this is what coaching is. To me, it was like simple stuff. And then he suggested I became a coach in 2000, but I really wasn't ready. I thought, I've got my own stuff to do. But then in 2008, that's where the real coaching started, because I was on the verge of suicide, and from there I realized what my mission and passion was.
Yeah, right. Thanks for sharing. And why if you don't mind me asking, why were you sort of at that point? Because I know I sort of went through a similar circumstance in 2010, and for me it was because I couldn't make a decision, and I started looping, and that was because I wanted to do something that I really enjoyed, which was working in New Vision, and instead I felt like I was forced to work in a job that I just didn't really like anymore.
Yeah, everything went wrong, or I thought everything went wrong. I gambled money on the stock market, the real estate went down, there's a recession, a depression, and I couldn't see a way out. And it was very painful for me. My whole identity was around success and money, and I hadn't ever thought that was a scenario, but it really brought me clarity very quickly.
I think it's a very poignant point, because a lot of people associate money with happiness, and in their workplace can cause a lot of stress for them. So your insights in how do we reduce stress at work?
It's really a number of things. So the first thing I would say is it's as human beings, we make everything mean something, and then we build a story around it. So for example, if my wife doesn't return my phone call, I make it mean she doesn't love me, she doesn't care for me, she doesn't respect me, she doesn't honor me. All that happened was she didn't return my phone call. And this is what happens at work. When someone says something to you, you make it mean something. Oh, he doesn't like me, he thinks I'm stupid, he thinks I'm not good enough, he thinks I can't handle this. And then they would say something else, and they said, there he goes again. Look, I knew it. And then you start getting a downward spiral, because you make a big story around it. So the first thing is stop making things mean something. Instead of looking at what you think they mean, just ask yourself, what is the real scenario? The real scenario was she didn't call me back. So that's the first thing I would do.
Mm. Yeah, and that makes sense. It's almost like overanalyzing, isn't it?
Always. If you think about the most happiest moments of your life is when you had no money, because you had no attachment, you had no meaning, you were just being you're being a kid, you're being alive, you're being vibrant. And we've lost that because, we're in our heads constantly thinking about, am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Am I lovable? Do they like me? Do I belong? All of that stuff, instead of just getting on and doing the stuff.
Does that mean as people we need to live more in the moment and be aware of the moment instead of looking too far into the future?
Well, there is only the now. If you think of life as only the now, there is no future, there is no past, And if you're constantly looking in the past, if you're fearful of the past coming up into the present and the future, it's going to be very painful. Yeah. So there is only the now, and when you're in the present, when you're in the moment, miraculously time disappears because time doesn't exist otherwise.
Yeah, it's a great analogy. I've spoken to you quite a few times, and we've spoken about gratitude. How important is gratitude?
Well, gratitude is part of my success formula or happiness formula. So it's one of the 3 Gs. And if I could share the 3 Gs, I'd be happy to tell the audience and the listeners the happiness formula.
Sure.
So happiness equals G cubed. The first G is gratitude. You have to be grateful for what you have. So, Rick, just look at your hands.
Yep.
Have you ever said thank you to them?
No, I have never said thank you to my hands, but thank you.
Look, done for you.
Pardon?
They've nurtured you, they've fed you, they've looked after you, they've clothed you, they've protected you, they've written beautiful notes, they've typed beautiful notes, they've collected goodies from all sorts of people from all over the world, they've let you climb stairs, all sorts of things they've done for you. But whenever we stop for 2 seconds and say, I thank you so much for being my hand.
Yeah, makes sense. They're a very valuable tool to me.
Yeah, and your feet, your legs, your teeth, your eyes, the air that we breathe, the house that we live in, we're protected by, a building that protects us from the elements. So the more things you're grateful for, the better the quality of your life.
Yeah, makes sense.
The second G is you have to be giving. You have to give. Give your time, your energy, your love, your commitment, your joy, your gift, your money. Give it away without wanting anything in return.
And why is that? Because that's a common mistake for a lot of people. A lot of people will only give with the expectation of getting back.
Yeah. See, that's not really giving. That's giving in order to. So when I was suicidal, there's only one thing that removed the pain instantly. And that was when in the moment I authentically gave, the pain disappears. Because in the act of giving, it's a selfless act and it fills you with joy. And when you're filled with joy, the pain disappears. There cannot be any pain in the moment you authentically give.
And I guess people are always absorbed about money, but I'm assuming you're not necessarily talking just about money.
No, it's not money. It's your time, your love, your generosity, your laughter, your gift, your happiness, your presence, your joyfulness, your humor. It's just give anything. It's not about money. The money is just a different type of energy. But if your intent is to give a compliment. If you compliment someone, you never know. You could be saving their life. They may be on the verge of suicide. But in that moment, they felt, someone cares.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah, makes sense. And the third one?
The third G, you have to grow. Emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do those 3 Gs, at any given time, one of those 3 Gs is lower than the rest. So you could do the 3G test, which is my lowest G, and work on that lowest G, and that will raise all the Gs.
So what's the most common way for the growing G? Is it just continual learning and focusing on yourself and your state of mind and trying to improve?
It is, and it's also, obviously the fastest way is through a coach, but you could get a book, read some books, read some journals, listen to some stuff, but it all comes from awareness. You cannot be in love, you cannot be joyful, you cannot be in bliss, you cannot be successful unless you have awareness. So it all stems from awareness. If you raise the level of awareness you're able to experience, your quality of life will exponentially increase.
Yeah. So what about, there's been, some people have been talking to lately have sort of been focusing on this concept of attachment. How does attachment tie into all of this?
So the quality of your life is dependent on the number of attachments that you have. The lesser the attachments that you have, the better the quality of life. So attachments really means control.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you can let go of stuff, if you can let go of an expectation, if you can let go of wanting things done in a particular way, or if you can let go of being attached to your car or your house, that will give you power.
And I think that that's an apt question for employers, employees, or people just in general on a personal level, because I guess if I put my employer hat on, as you're talking about control, I guess if I'm not willing to lose control to the people that I've trusted to do the work, and I keep my attachment to all those tasks, well, it's going to cause me and them frustration and not 100% productivity, I'd imagine, as well.
Absolutely. And it's interesting the words that you use. It's not control, it's delegation. So this is one of the things that Richard Branson talks about. He says you have to learn to delegate. And normally, if you delegate, things get done better because as employers, we try and do everything, but we're really not good at everything. So if we delegate the things that we're not good at, the results will be so much better.
And so what about this concept of perfection that everyone seems to be chasing on a superficial level, on our looks, or at a business level? Is it possible?
The perfection is never possible, and that's the problem. When you're striving for perfection, people think it's a very, very high standard, but in fact it's a very low standard because it's never achievable, and because it's never achievable, there's a big pain associated with it because the work never gets done.
Mm. So is it just something that we should be letting go completely and just accept that we're never going to be perfect, but just try to be the best we can be?
It is, and you know, if you accept that there's perfection in imperfection, that's a big breakthrough. And really, another sentence that really helped people is that it doesn't matter what other people think of you. That we're always concerned about what they think of us. They'll think, oh, he's stupid, he's not good enough, he's not smart enough. It's okay. Let them think whatever they want to think. Just do whatever you can and enjoy the process.
Yeah. So if we go to a business sense for the business people out here, when we're talking about staff and the workplace, what are the common mistakes? Because we've spoken about employees before. What are the common mistakes in hiring people?
Well, the number one mistake is that the hiring person tends to hire people that they can get along with. And that's fatal. Mm-hmm. You have to put checks and balances in. You have to have a rigorous hiring process so that when you do hire right without having to go through all the pain of hiring and firing and contaminating. And I use that word very strongly, contaminating the rest of the workforce. So put checks and balances, ask great questions, get some personality tests done. It's really important that that the hiring is very vigorous, and then the firing becomes easy because there will be no one to fire.
Yeah, it's interesting. Is there a hiring process that you prefer over others, or not really?
Well, I would go through. I would make people jump through hoops. So, for example, if I was hiring a graphic designer, I would put out a notice saying, "Look, I want you to email me between 2 and 3 p.m. on Mountain Standard Time." Okay? Mm-hmm. And in the subject line, I want you to put these 3 letters, ACD. And I want you to sign it off with these 4 words. I make life easy. Okay? So you're giving them specific instructions. And if they email you without those specific instructions, you know that they don't have attention to detail. They don't, and if they don't do it between the times in Mountain Standard Time, means that they have to do some research. So you're giving them some very, very easy tasks, but it'll tell you whether they are orientated towards detail or not. So then you can filter them out. So then you have 4 that you can choose from. Then you just give them harder tasks.
So have you ever seen or used yourself the process of including other employees in the interview process? Because I guess at this end of the day, they've got to work with the team. So getting other employees to assess whether they get on with the person and if they think they're up for the job. For your A-grade employees, your superstars I'm talking about.
If you trust them and you know that they have the right intentions of the company, that the problem with hiring people, we all tend to do as human nature, hire people that we think we can get along with. But one of the problems is if you've got people that are working for you, their biggest fear is that if this person comes on board, will he take my job? Yeah. So it's a balance, and what you could do is really choose one or two superstars who are not concerned about their position or what other people think, who are very, very objective rather than being very subjective about things.
Yeah.
So that would help. And again, it depends on the circumstance, but you could use that as the final filter.
Yeah, awesome. How do we increase productivity with our employees and also and then from there increase our retention in the employee space?
The number one thing I would do, I would make your employees more important than your customers. Because if you've got happy employees, they'll do anything for you. I would give them compliments, acknowledgements. I would give them a better workplace, more comfortable seating. I would arrange for massages, inspirational quotes on the walls. I would listen to them and find out what their favorite charities are and start a fund. I would employ a director of fun or make one of the members of staff a director of fun. So really focus on serving your staff, and I promise you, once you start doing that, they'll do anything for you. People will not leave a company because of money. They will leave it because of a loss of leadership.
Yeah. Australians, the psyche seems to be a little bit more cynical. It's something I've tried to reflect on. But I don't think it means that won't work. I think it just means as a boss we need to just persevere more and get it ingrained into the culture a little bit harder, and then once it's ingrained they'll enjoy it. I mean, who wouldn't enjoy having more fun in the workplace?
Yeah, and again, it's your intent. It's how you show up. People can assess your vibrational energy, whether you're being authentic or not. And it's how you show up as a leader will determine how they show up.
Yeah, exactly. Anil, I know you're really busy, so just quickly, in relation to your coaching, are you only helping people on a personal level, or are you helping business people like with some of the questions that we've asked?
Yeah, well, I do personal coaching, I do business coaching, and I'm just starting up some group coaching programs because obviously my time is running out. I don't have so much free time nowadays. So I am starting some group coaching. And in fact, I was just with a coaching client and he wants me to coach some of his executives in his group. And he's got a fairly large group. So really, group coaching and one-to-one coaching is mostly what I do.
Right. So what about how would people get in contact with you? What's the best way to find you?
The best way is probably go to my website, which is immediatehappiness.com. And on that website, you'll get some very, very beautiful videos on how to reach a richer, happier, fuller life. And also, you can take a happiness test that I have on my site, and it'll tell you in detail areas of your life you need to work on. And if after that you decide you need to fast track it, there is a strategy call that I'm happy to do with anyone who's interested in fast tracking the happiness.
Awesome, Anil. Thank you very much for your time.
I appreciate you, Rick. Thank you for having me on your show.
No, it's been great. I'm glad you trusted me to do the small interview, and I know you've got to go off and do some coaching with someone else, so I won't take up any more of your time. So thank you very much, and look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thanks, Rick. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye.